The Vice President and Honorable Minister of Public Security presented the Cabinet the annual report of the Ministerial Task Force on the Trafficking in Persons for 2016. The task force is headed by the Honorable Minister and comprises representatives from 17 government and non-governmental organizations and agencies. The report highlighted the achievements of the task force along with those of related agencies with respect to combating trafficking persons under a 4Ps program: prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. Some of the activities that were highlighted on the program were the prevention, dealt with sensitization and an awareness program of human trafficking; protection, the continued cooperation of a trafficking person hotline by the Ministry of Social Protection; prosecutions, the Guyana Police Force recorded 98 alleged victims of TIP stemming from 38 cases. And finally, partnership. The government continued to facilitate local interagency collaboration and continued collaboration with bilateral partners such as the United States Department of State, the International Organization for Migration, and Interpol. Cabinet noted the report and commended the Honorable Minister on the performance of the task force. The Minister of State presented to Cabinet the audited financial statement of the National Parks Commission for the year 2008. Cabinet noted that the Commission had still to prepare audited statements for 2009 to 2016, a period of 8 years. And Cabinet also noted the resolve of the current Commission to ensure that the audited statements are prepared for that period. It's clear from what has been reported in the report itself, which was a qualified audit opinion. The auditor said that there was an overstatement of the Commission's fixed assets by $9 million or more, and that statements of cash flow and changes in equity were not presented for audit examination. In fact, the auditor also alluded to the fact that some entries were made in pencil in the books, and that, of course, presented opportunities for people to erase figures and change figures and so on. So this is something that we've been speaking about since we came into office, that audited financial statements must be presented. And so we want to commend the current Commission for trying to clear up that backlog of reports that were never presented under the PPPC administration. Cabinet approved the report and directed that it be laid in the National Assembly as required by law. Guyana will attend the 7th session of the Conference of State Parties of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, to be held in Vienna, Austria, from November 6th to the 10th, 2017. The conference is expected to improve cooperation between state parties with regard to the implementation of the Convention's activities and objectives. It will also seek to review the implementation of the Convention in such areas as asset recovery, international cooperation, and technical assistance. Mrs. Diane Wolford, Parliamentary Counsel in the Ministry of Legal Affairs, will attend the conference. Cabinet has approved attendance at a workshop on international public sector accounting, cash basis financial reporting, to be held in Castries, St. Lucia, from November 12th to the 18th. The workshop will be hosted by the Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, CARTAC, will cover the following areas. 1, improving financial data integrity. 2, consolidation of accounts. 3, enhancing financial reporting through notes of statements. And 4, updating IFSPAS cash basis reporting requirement. Guyana's participation is particularly important since it will provide the opportunity to discuss requirements in the implementation of IPSAS cash basis that will be implemented as part of the government financial system in 2018. Mrs. Jennifer Chapman and Mrs. Tricia Harry from the Ministry of Finance will attend the workshop. Approval has been given for attendance at the 5th International Cooperation Meeting on Integral Security for the Caribbean to be held in Medellin, Colombia from November 14th to the 17th. The meeting will review the progress of security cooperation in the region in the battle against criminal activity as a result of drug trafficking. Mr. Leslie Ramlal, Deputy Head of the Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit, and Mr. Jason Chung, Team Leader, Container Control Program of the Guyana Revenue Authority, will attend the meeting. Guyana will be represented at a high-level seminar on the cooperation agreement for the suppression of illicit maritime and air traffic, drugs, and psychotropic substances in the Caribbean, being held in San Jose, Costa Rica, from November the 2nd to the 3rd, 2017. The conference will be attended by Deputy Head of Customs and Anti-Narcotics, Mr. Leslie Ramlal. Approval has been granted for attendance at the 2nd Copeland II Annual Meeting of National Drug Observatories to be held in Lisbon, Spain, from November 13th to the 17th. The meeting, to be hosted by the European Union, will cover key areas relevant to national observatories on drugs. Copeland II, the cooperation program between Latin America, the Caribbean, and the European Union on drug policies, provide technical assistance to enhance the development of national drug observatories to serve as a tool for evidence-based policymaking in relation to the demand and supply of drugs, as well as drug-related problems and ways to address them. Mr. Courtney Samuels, Head of the Policy and Research Unit of the Ministry of Public Security, will attend the meeting. Cabinet has approved participation in an intelligence gathering and analysis course organized by the Regional Drug Law Enforcement Training Center to be held in Jamaica from November 13th to the 24th. A member of the Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit of the Guyana Police Force will attend the course. Cabinet noted the award of contracts by the procurement entities as follows. For the construction and extension of the Ministry of Business Head Office building, a contract in the sum of $88,740,000 awarded to Visuals Contracting Company. For the construction of Head Office Building Phase 1, the Ministry of Public Health, for the sum of $365,487,000, a contract awarded to Chung's Global Enterprise. For the rehabilitation of NDIA office buildings and external works at LBI East Coast Demerara Region Number 4, a contract in different lots. Lot 1, Engineering Department Building, a contract in the sum of $22,998,000 awarded to Arkisoon Contracting Service. Lot number 2, the main building, a contract in the sum of $20,421,000 awarded to Cans Construction and Transportation Service, Inc. Lot number 3, the finance building, for the sum of $23,986,000, contract award to Chung's Global Enterprise. Lot number 4, the administration building, for the sum of $258,000 contract award to GSK Excavation Services. And lot number 5, external works, for the sum of $18,738,000, a contract award to CompuStruct Engineering, Inc. For the construction of buildings for office space and living quarters for the Environmental Protection Agency at whim on the quarantine, a contract in the sum of $23,342,000 awarded to Memorex Enterprises. For the supply and delivery of one water ambulance for Region Number 6, Ministry of Communities, for the sum of $23,100,000, contract award to K&P Project Management. For the procurement of exercise books for the national distribution, Ministry of Education, for the sum of $24,617,000, contract award to Guyana National Printers Limited. For the construction of one business incubator center at Lethem Industrial Site, the Ministry of Business, the contract in the sum of $271,378,000 award to Visuals Construction Service. For the construction of electrical distribution network from the Central Housing and Planning Authority, and these are for various housing estates. Lot number 1, undernaming Zealot and Diamond Commercial Industrial, for the sum of $19,270,000, contract award to Cummins Electrical Company. Lot number 2, Peters Hall, Luston Ross and Eccles Industrial Site, for the sum of $17,675,000, a contract award to J&S Electrical. Lot number 3, Covent Garden, Barnwell North, and 5 Mile Bartica, contract in the sum of $13,196,000, awarded to Cummins Electrical Company Limited. Lot number 4, Farm, Paradise, and Baltizak, for the sum of $25,689,000, contract award to Ramatar and Sons Contracting Service. Lot number 5, Hope Experiment Enmore and Kilchoy Chesney, for the sum of $17,161,000, contract award to Ramatar and Sons Contracting Service. For the supply, delivery, installation, and testing of equipment for the Linden Technical Institute, Ministry of Education, for selected items, Lot 1 and 2, the hardware depot, a contract in the sum of $1,937,000, Netcom, a contract in the sum of $9,697,000, General Distributors, contract in the sum of $5,212,000, and South Caribbean Distributors, contract in the sum of $12,400,000, a total sum of $29,247,000. For the provision of internet service for the Cato Secondary School, Ministry of Public Telecommunications, a contract in the sum of $23,270,000, awarded to Harmon Wireless Solutions, Inc. The provision of internet service to the Cato Secondary School is part of an ongoing program to provide the service to schools across the coastland and in the hinterland. This service is also being provided at secondary schools at Mabaruma, Port Kaituma, Santa Rosa, Aishalton, Lethem, Anai, Parmakatoy, Waramadang, Pokwani, Madhya, and Bartica. These schools in the hinterland are outside of the government e-network reach and requires service providers to connect them by way of broadband satellite service, so that all of these schools will have the same facilities in the hinterland as those that are provided for the schools on the coast. For the supply and delivery of computer items for the Guyana Revenue Authority, for selected items, lot number 1, Massey Technologies Limited, a contract in the sum of $864,000. For MT Computique, a contract in the sum of $8,415,000. And lot number 2, NT Computique, a contract in the sum of $21,027,000. For the supply and implementation of equipment and service to upgrade the Guyana National Broadband Project, Ministry of Public Telecommunications, a contract in the sum of US $37,600,000 awarded to Huawei Technologies Company Limited. For the provision of nuggets, learning servers, National Data Management Authority, Ministry of Public Telecommunications, a contract in the sum of $187,500 United States dollars awarded to CBT Nuggets LLC. And finally, for the implementation of a virtualized data center, National Data Management Authority, Ministry of Public Telecommunication, a contract in the sum of $74,005,000 awarded to NT Computique. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, those are the matters which were discussed at Cabinet and the noting of contracts awarded by the procurement entities. I'll now take your questions.
Now open the floor for questions. Please be reminded to state your name and the name of your organization, and then you can pose your question. Who's going to start? No questions today, Minister.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, Mr. Harmon. Please permit me to ask you a question outside of your original statement. Can you respond to Christopher Ram's statement of the $20 million US dollars bonus agreement between ExxonMobil and the government of Ghana?
Yes. This is a matter which is in the public domain. I believe Mr. Ram has raised it as, I don't know whether in fact it is a statement of fact or this is speculation. But what I can say is that the Minister of Natural Resources has said publicly that within the appropriate time that the government will make public the contract, the agreement between itself and ExxonMobil, and that the terms and conditions of that contract will be made public at that time. So I'm not prepared to deal with any speculation as to what it is that's part of that contract. If Mr. Ram has seen the contract, maybe he could make it public. But I'm saying that the Minister of Natural Resources has actually made a public statement on the matter, and I will stand behind the Minister's statement.
Minister Harmon, I want to talk about the provision of internet services to the hinterland schools. You said it's going to be provided by broadband.
Yes.
Who's going to be the internet provider in those areas? Are you using some satellite service? How is this going to be done?
Well, it's broadband satellite service, and these the service providers, in fact, the persons to whom the contract has been awarded, they will provide the internet service for the schools. I don't believe that the state has actually said to them who they should use, but these were public tendering, and this was a company that won the bid for that particular school. So what we expect is at the end of it is a quality service to the students at that school. And this is all because the e-government network has not reached these areas as yet. Areas where they have reached, we've actually started providing service under the e-government network program. But we cannot delay the provision of internet services to the students in the hinterland because that project hasn't reached them as yet. And so what has happened is that we found a way of actually providing the internet service now before e-government reaches them, and that this is the contract that's been awarded, and that we expect that the students will be benefiting from these services in the schools that have been mentioned.
A quick follow-up, please.
Yes.
The follow-up to that, sir. At one time, we had an education service being broadcast through Bobby Network, and then NCN, I think, took it over. What is the status of that program where you transmit education material to the internet?
I think that is still going on. It's been done at NSERD. But in addition to that, you'll recognize that we've established community radios, and that the community radios are now a very important adjunct to that's provided by the Ministry of Education. So you've got community radios in Lethem, in Mabaruma, I believe in Madja we'll have one soon, and all across the country we'll have these community radios that provide a public broadcast service to the communities. And so that is what, as much as I can say on that right now.
Mr. Harmon, the Samuel from the newsroom. Just to follow up on that matter, the 23 million that was awarded for the provision of the internet service to KD, could you say what period that will cover?
It's at least for 1 year.
Okay, and my question is in relation to the CI report into the presidential assassination.
Oh, that's the second thing now.
Yes.
That was, yes.
Could you say what our cabinet's, the members' thoughts of the recommendations coming out of that report, and if any of those will be implemented?
Well, the idea, we view that the report was a very sound one, that the Commission did an excellent job in trying to unearth evidence, and in fact almost having to seriously cross-examine some of the witnesses to be able to arrive at a situation where they could have made some very serious recommendations on what needed to be done. As I said at an earlier press conference, that the COI points to very serious challenges insofar as the way in which the police force is organized, and the fact that we will need to do some adjustments and some serious look at the way in which the force is being run and managed. The recommendations have not been delivered, the actions on the recommendations as such have not been made public as yet. They are in the contemplation still of His Excellency, but I can say to you that we've taken those recommendations very seriously, and action will be taken on them.
Could I follow up to?
Yes.
COI? You said you're saying
Hold on, hold on.
Marcel Thomas on the side of you.
Yes.
You said you've taken the recommendations seriously from the COI.
Yes.
One of the, and will act on them.
Yes.
One of the recommendations specifically states or has been made for the firing of the Commissioner of Police, Sila Tusa. Is it safe to say then that the government is contemplating firing the Commissioner of Police?
Well, I don't know the Commission of Inquiry said anything about firing. They spoke about disciplinary action to be taken against certain persons and so on. And certainly we have to take into consideration the recommendations that have been made. But as I said to you earlier, the COI makes recommendations, but then these are issues now that we have to look at the way in which the entire force is going to be affected by these recommendations. And so you have the recommendations of the COI, and then you also have other recommendations which have been made by the person who is looking at the security sector reform program. So we'll fit all of these things into place, and the recommendations will fit into those, and the actions which will be taken will be based on the recommendations of the COI and the determinations also of the security sector reform program. So you will get something very soon on these recommendations. I can promise you that.
And my substantive question, back to COIs, were made public yesterday.
Hmm.
You carry plane.
Yes.
I wanted to know, it said that several villagers and residents of Region 9 and quoting have been indicated in supporting illegal airstrips and illegal landings. I wanted to know what steps, if any, have been taken to eliminate this happening in other parts of the interior, and would charges be made laid against those persons who were found implicated in this?
Well, the COI made some recommendations. They spoke about complicit, that they were citizens who were being complicit. That is their finding, and that they were complicit with persons or persons unknown. So what we have done after that was to have a closer look at the way in which our police force and our military force in that area, they were structured, and the command levels of it. We've already made some changes based on that recommendations. We've made some changes at the level of the senior management of the police force in the region, and we've actually looked at the way in which the police and the army patrol those communities. What we recognize is that there was a failure to really regularly communicate with the citizens in these communities, these far-flung communities. And we have reestablished two structures which actually lead up to information coming up to the center. And that is the regional and the district intelligence system and committees. Now, these committees comprise citizens in the community, the police and military officers where their military posts, as well as the administration representative in that region. So that when they meet sometimes on a fortnightly basis, sometimes on a monthly basis. They will have a collaboration of information. That information will be collated and sent up to the next level, which is what we call the Regional Intelligence Committee. And that is held by the regional chairman and the officers of the region. From there, it comes to the center. So that the passage of information from the community to the region and to the center is something which we have now reinstituted. In the past, there was a break because at the level of the communities, the district or the village intelligence committees hardly met. And so that when you have a patrol or somebody going into the village, they'll be told something. Now, to the extent to which you are told these things, it is because of the time which it takes for you to go and patrol. So if a patrol goes in there once a month or once every 2 months, that is the time when you'll get information. By that time, of course, things are happening on a daily basis. So we have reinstituted that system. We've also put in place regular communication between these communities and the region and the center, so that we have now a facility to pass information much quicker than we had in the past. So some of these things were the direct results of the Commission of Inquiry, which was done. We've also reestablished communication with some of the persons in the village, persons who can provide information on a timely basis to the administration.
Good morning, Mr. Harmon. So it's Tracy Stafford News. I have a few questions as it relates to the garbage situation in the city. Could you say whether or not the issue of garbage collection within recent weeks has come up before Cabinet? And I know there might have been some discussion with Savants and Purans with relation to government assisting with paying the money that City Hall owes them. Could you update us on that, please?
Well, I think what you're talking about is the payment to persons who have provided service in the collection of garbage in the city. Because I don't think there is a problem with garbage collection. Those persons, in particular the two major companies, Savants Waste Management Service and Puran Brothers, they have actually made proposals for the settlement of these outstanding sums. And I can say to you that it's engaging the attention of the Ministry of the Communities right now. And after that, it will come to Cabinet for Cabinet to deliberate on it. We believe that once people have done work, they should be paid. And so I want to give that assurance to the service providers, that government is not unmindful of the fact that they provided a service and that they have not been paid. Throughout the process that was taking place, it was recognized that this was a matter to be dealt with by the Georgetown Mayor City Council. But we recognize now that there is a problem and that it makes no sense for us to just operate as if there is no problem. And so the Minister of Communities has been contacted, and we are looking at it and see how best we can bring relief. Because apart from the sums that are owed to these companies, there are a lot of employees who would have been laid off or so on as a result of them not being paid. And so we're looking at that very carefully to be able to bring some relief to the two companies.
Sorry, Gilberry, Cashman News. I wanted to do a follow-up on, did you say it's $37 million to Huawei? Could you give us a little more details on that? And secondly, Justice Patterson yesterday said that he admitted rather that he was acting in his capacity as Chief Justice in Bonita. On the CD, it says Chief Justice. Is this a problem for the administration, especially as that position of Chairman of GCOM is a very sensitive one?
Well, two things. One, the first question about Huawei. The Huawei contract is a long-standing, is a phase of that contract to provide e-government services for the country. It is now basically at a point where the government has agreed for the sum, and that sum is basically going to be provided by the China Bank, China Exim Bank. That is the bank that will provide that sum. So the contract was basically to say, yes, we are agreed to this contract with the company, and that this will allow now the company to proceed to get the money from Exim Bank to complete that project. That's one. Second thing, in relation to the GCOM, I think the President has made a determination on this matter that Justice Patterson is the person who is fit and proper to deal with this question of the chairmanship of GCOM. Now, the issue of his CV and whether he is substantive or whether he's acting, I don't know, it is something which you should give all of that problems to. Because we have a lot of people here in this country who are acting. But we don't say because they're acting that they're not that. The Chancellor of the Judiciary, who just retired, was acting at the time when he retired. We won't say that he was not the Chancellor of the Judiciary. The current Chancellor is acting. The current Chief Justice is acting. So this question about whether you're acting and you can say that you are that, or that you have to be confirmed as substantive before you can use the title, I think that is something that, in my view, is neither here nor there. The question is that the person has performed in those capacities. He's performed creditably as the chairman of one of the commissions, commissions of inquiry, which we've just released yesterday in the National Assembly. And so a person can actually go through that and see from the quality of that work whether in fact this person is capable of managing the Elections Commission. Much has been said also. I think I'll address this much more fully at another stage, but much has been said that the appointment of Justice Patterson is going to affect the charter formula and all of that. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. The charter formula provides for 3 commissioners from the opposition, 3 commissioners from the government, and the chairman of the Elections Commission. Now, I don't understand if it is that you are arguing that this thing is going to cause a problem. You have 3 commissioners sitting there. You mean to tell me that you're going to sit down there and see this chairman acting on his own and don't start to make noise? Why are we talking now about bringing an election that is so far away from now? We have so many things that are to be done before now and then that the world will be looking. You have your commissioners will be there. What kind of argument is this? I really don't understand the argument. I think it is really blowing out there. It's really crying wolf, 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 wolf before the actual wolf comes. And there's no wolf that's going to come. That's what I want to say to the PPP. Final question, please.
Excuse me, Minister, are you taking one more question or two more?
I'll take two.
Okay.
I don't like to leave
Right.
people without answers.
Recently, the DPP had some very negative things to say about SOCU. How concerned is government about this, particularly given that so much resources has been pumped into SOCU? You had a British expert who was here lending some support, and they're still apparently not able to bring solid matters before the court, because as you would know, there was one that they recently lost. Could you just, say what the government intends to do with this particular event?
Well, I answered that question a few weeks ago. If you check back, you will find that I did give you an answer to that question. And I said that at that time, which I will repeat again, that the Special Organized Crime Unit is a unit that when we came into office was just Sidney James and 4 or 5 persons in there. Since we came into office, we have given that unit the capacity to go after organized crime. We have given them the capacity to investigate. We've given them the resources to go about doing their investigations. We've exposed them to best practices all around the world. In fact, I believe it was only last week Mr. James himself came from one such training program. So we are improving the competence and the capacity of SOCU. And in a lot of the investigations that are going on, it's not just that SOCU is not doing a good job. SOCU, they are gathering information. And if, in fact, the persons who have the legal eye to see what it is that will stand up in court allows it to go through, how could you blame the investigators? The investigators do the work. They're trained as policemen. They're trained to look at certain things. They are trained to provide information. At the end of it, if the legal luminaries who have to advise whether this matter should go to court or not, they are the ones who say, look, there's a deficiency here and a deficiency there, correct it. And that is what has been happening all along. So of course complain about it too, that there's so many matters they've already finished investigating and it is not coming to the court as yet. But we have to be patient because a number of these things require very careful investigation. And so it is not, in my view, correct to say that SOCU is not doing this and SOCU is not doing that. We have to work with SOCU. And clearly SOCU is going to get the help. SOCU is getting international help. And SOCU will get additional help to ensure that the cases that they bring before the court, that they stick. Many persons were complaining how long it takes to bring these cases to court. Every day they're saying, okay, you did commissioners of inquiry, you did audits, but still these people walking about the road who did all of these bad things. But as you understand now, these matters have to be prepared in a particular way so that they can stand cross-examination in the court, and it must allow the magistrates or the judges to make decisions that are based on the evidence. As you know, the magistracy, the judiciary, they are independent. We do not tell them what judgment they should give. What we do is present the evidence in court and ask that they look at it impartially and neutrally. At the same time, we are asking the chairman of GCOM to be impartial, to be neutral, and look at the evidence and make your decisions.
Thank you. We have one more question, and it will be from the young lady from it.
Yes.
Minister Harmon, what can you say about the state of the breakdown secondary school? I see it's abandoned presently. Are there any plans by government to reconstruct the school, the secondary school, as another location along the breakdown route? And
Mhm.
has
Yes.
there been any identification of a lot to put it, if they're planning to do so?
Yes, there's work, I can say to you that there's work going on in that regard, that about the construction of the Brickdam Secondary School. I believe that some discussions were taking place with respect to the location and the availability of the land and so on, but certainly the school will be rebuilt and rebuilt in good time. Yes.
Yes,
Somebody?
I have one more
One
question.
more.
You mentioned in response to Larry's question that the report compiled by Justice Patterson into the prison unrest, that the qualitative work, and so in that report he recommended that women should not be sent to prison except in exceptional cases. Don't you think that recommendation is a bit primitive?
Primitive.
I
I don't understand that. If women commit offenses, I think what he was talking about is the facilities under which they are kept. That is what he was talking about. You can't send women in conditions where you would have men because our biological makeup is different. And so what the report was saying is that if you're going to send women to a prison, you must provide the facilities for them to be kept in incarceration. All right, so now, just finally, let me address this matter, a matter which occurred yesterday, to make a preliminary statement on it. We were all in the National Assembly yesterday when we saw a display by the opposition of, particularly when His Excellency the President was speaking, the fact that there are placards in there and the noise that they were making almost attempting to drown out the voice of His Excellency the President. Now I can say that the words of His Excellency the President had already been reduced into writing and in these booklets that were circulated to all of the members in the National Assembly. So that to feel that you will obstruct the message from going out because you want to drown out the messenger was not a really good ploy. But what I wish to say also is that we recall in May 2015 after the elections and the coalition came into office that there was a swelling of national pride, not only here in Guyana, but all across the world. People felt proud again to be identified as Guyanese. And it is this pride that we have to protect. And we want to ensure that our national institutions and our national leaders are given that level of civility and courtesy in public life, particularly when you have to go to the National Assembly and you address. This is the house. It's our house. It is called a house, the National Assembly. And therefore, we should not allow this behavior in the Parliament yesterday of parliamentary protesters inside of the House to redefine who we are as a people, to redefine the fact that we are civil, that we are courteous, and that we extend that civility and courtesy to our leaders, and more so to guests who are in our house. Yesterday, I believe it was unfortunate that, in my view and in the view of many of my colleagues, that the behavior by the opposition represented a significant departure from what is known as legitimate protest. And that the occasion itself was not a proper forum to exhibit that kind of behavior before your president and before all of those persons who you invited into your house. It's like if you invite somebody into your home, you try to show them the best, but when they come there, you give them the latrin of your behavior. I believe that more will be said on this matter, but for now, I just want to say that Guyanese people are civil people, we're courteous people, and we will not, our behavior and our attitudes will not be redefined by that behavior or by the persons in Parliament who almost acted like a parliamentary protest, like a meeting outside of the Stabrook Market. It's close to the Stabrook Market, but that was the behavior that was imported into the National Assembly. And so I would want to say that we are sober people. We like to keep this sober and civility in public discourses, and that we would wish to encourage the opposition and the supporters of the opposition to let us look at what is good for Guyana. Let us look at the positive things that are happening in this country, and let us work together. We may have our differences, we may have protests. Protests are legal, but let us recognize civility. Let us not break down or tear down national institutions and bring disrespect and disregard those institutions which are meant to uphold us and hold us as a nation together. Those are my final words. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.